Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stadvert here with the Big Bang Build. Today I'm just doing a quick, well, relatively quick, plugin tutorial, walkthrough, review, whatever you would like to label it as, for zombie survival. Love this plugin. It's basically the Black Ops 2 style type thing where you're basically, or excuse me, Black Ops 1 zombie survival type thing where you're basically going against hordes or waves of enemies. I love it. Just it's very awesome setup. And shout out to the plugin creators and the testers that are helping out with this. Love the plugin. You guys have done a phenomenal job. So this is just the first video of a kind of a two-parter. On this first part, I'm going to go over the oh so fun configuration file and kind of just break things down for you. I've also created a help file that will kind of help define some of the terms used throughout, and again some of the commands used throughout. All of this will be in the description, so don't worry about it if you know, I maybe go over something a little bit too fast or you need me to kind of drill down into it a little bit more. It's all in the description, so it'll definitely save you some time, some hassle. You won't be pulling your hair out. So without further ado, let's dive into how to actually configure this awesome plugin. So if you go into the pages section here, they actually have a default configuration setting. I'm just going to kind of run through here and tell you, comments on what I've changed, what I may not have changed on the plugin. So starting off, we have a minimum number of players required to start a game, and by default that's set to 2. I like that idea because I like to be able to play with other people. You can do an admin override on this if you would just want to play by yourself and you're an OP. Let's just go ahead and leave that alone. Let's not dig into that right now. And then let's see, should a player receive items when they first join? You can go ahead and configure that actually later on. This is just the basic master on-off switch for that whole set of features. So you can set it up to where, say, someone joins with a leather armor plate for their chest, or they start with like a wooden sword, a stone sword, or something like that. So by default, I'm just going to go ahead and it's set to true. I'm going to leave it as is. I trust the plugin creators to have my best interests in mind when they're actually setting up all these defaults, and I rarely go in and actually change things whenever I'm running through a plugin, with the exception of should water or cobwebs hurt players. I thought initially, if you stay in the water long enough, it'll be the standard you drown type thing, where the cobwebs will just slow you down, like you would normally happen while you're in mine shafts and stuff. I actually figured out through testing that water actually does damage to you whenever you run into it. Not you drown from it, but I mean like you step in it and with your foot and it starts dealing damage to you. So personally, I went and set this to false because I wanted to be a little bit more like the standard Minecraft that we're kind of used to, and the standard Minecraft that we all love, with the exception of us adding plugins to Bucket. Whatever. You're unfaithful sometimes, but it's okay. So the next option that we have here is the 1 in nth chance that a runner will spawn. So basically, a runner is just a extremely fast zombie that you can actually configure the speed to later on in this configuration file. So I'm just going to leave it as the default 10. So the 1 in 10 chance that a fast zombie group will spawn. And then if you want to disable this, you can put that to 0. And it kind of follows that that basic formatting throughout the plugin. If you want to disable something, they usually tell you, but if you want to disable something, it's usually set to 0. So moving down here, they've done a pretty good job of putting titles and headings for each one of these sections. So we're just going to move along into the wave settings section. This is just the amount of seconds between each wave. I'm going to go ahead and leave that to default as 20. I think that's pretty good. Gives you enough time to kind of run around and create things from drops that you may get from them, and to communicate with your team members, be it via text chat or, if you're lucky enough, via Mumble. Let's see, and then the next one down here is queue players after each wave. If you're very hardcore, I guess you could leave this turned off and try to just have the zombies kind of chase you around the map and nitpick at them to try to stay alive. But personally, I like to, kind of get healed up after every wave because, I mean, each wave is substantially more difficult. So moving right along, we have the next option here as a 1 in nth or by default 1 in 10th chance that a wolf wave, a pack of angry wolves will actually spawn and come after you. And again, you can disable that. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as default. I love the fact that other things can come after you other than zombies. So let's see. And then also the smarter wave size adjuster. This is awesome if you have, say, more players in the game. The wave sizes will get larger. Or if you just say have 1 or 2 players, the wave sizes will usually be a little bit smaller. So by default, leave that to true. Love it. Moving right along, how fast will normal zombies be? By default, it's set to 0.23. I like to leave default, so I'm just going to leave that. And then, as we mentioned before, where we had the 1 in 10th chance that a runner group will spawn, this is our faster zombies. You can actually tweak how fast you want those zombies to be. By default, by personal experience, playing on default and actually having that fast mob spawn really catches you by surprise. I would just leave it as default and then adjust accordingly. If a couple people on your server are like, I want more of a challenge, then feel free to bump it up, but feel it out first. Die a couple of times before you decide to bump that shit up to 60% and just have them annihilate you in a couple of seconds. That's no fun. Let's see, the next option here is bite effect length. I'm just going to skip over that to this one and then I'll bounce back. Bite effects, basically, you can get confusion, slowed, paralyzed, blinded, all that sort of stuff. And those we'll configure later, further down in this plugin. But this just gives you the percentage chance that the bite effects will actually take effect whenever you're hit or attacked. So by default it's set as the 1 in 20 chance. So I like that because you're still going to be going against a lot of freaking zombies. So I mean, you're still going to have a pretty good chance that you're going to have these effects come upon you. And then once you're actually affected by something, as you can see up here, there's the other configuration setting for the length of the time you are blinded or confused or whatever. By default, I like to leave that to 10, just because once the mobs get huge, you're definitely going to get overpowered, and that's really going to increase your chances of getting destroyed. So I trust the creators. Going to leave that to default. And then we have here, if a mob dies of natural causes, say for example they die in lava or they die due to sunlight, if you have it configured to where they die in sunlight, will they spawn a replacement? By default that is set to true. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that because I like to be able to kill as many zombies as this plugin intended. I love zombie killing, what can I say? And then for the next option we have, should non-human damage actually damage the mobs? So say for example lava sun, blah blah blah, leave that as true as well. And then we have the zombie health multiplier and the zombie damage multiplier. The health is just if you bump this up, they're going to of course have more health. By default it's set to 1 or standard, so I'm going to leave that on standard. If you want them to have double health, then again you would put a 2, and just kind of think of it in increments that way. And then for the damage multiplier, this is what they have as default, so I don't want to bump it up too much, but if you want extra strong and say extra fast zombies, feel free, you can do that. I don't currently have an economy plugin, so I'm just going to kind of skip over this here, but I'm sure that if you know how to configure economy plugins, you'll have no problem configuring this. So what are you doing watching my video? Maybe you need to help me out. I'm just kidding though. If you need help with this, feel free to PM me and I'll try to do what I can to help you out with it. Let's see, miscellaneous game settings. Time a player must wait before rejoining after using the /leave or a leave sign. So if you're not familiar, you can actually start a map or start a game, actually start killing some zombies and then type /leave. And as long as someone else is in there, it won't end out the game, and you'll just be sent to where you were before you started the game. So say, for example, you wanted to pop out of the game, go do something, or maybe go AFK and then pop back in later on if the game's still going on. You got a 30-second timer in between leaving and joining, so not too bad. You can, of course, adjust that the timer accordingly, though. Let's see, and then separate inventories. Love this feature. So say, for example, you're in survival mode. You got like a bunch of you got a diamond sword, you got diamond armor, all that stuff. What this basically does is it saves all that stuff, for when you exit out of the game. But when you get into the game, you don't have any items. You have a completely blank inventory. I love that feature, because then it really cuts down on the cheating. I mean, of course, there's ways around it. Your players can be kind of dicks and just like drop their stuff on the ground, and then once the game starts, run over and pick it up. But if you keep your game map kind of separate from everything else and make it really hard to get to unless you're actually until you're starting to join the game, then it really cuts down on that. Let's see. And then we also have the force inventory clear on server join. Most of this stuff further on is just for server automation if this is all you're going to be running on the server. So I'm going to leave that to the default as false. And then you also have the option, again, if you're playing an automatic server, this is something you may want to use, to have it as nighttime all the time. Of course, we do a lot of other things other than just slaying zombies, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave that by the default there. Force players to the world spawn when they join the server. Again, that kind of deals with automation. And let's see, let's just skip over this stuff. Oh, do you want to allow players to spectate, say, once they die? Yeah, I kind of like that. Let me show you guys what I did really fast. Just a nice little simple fix. As you can see, here is the city, and it is floating over, a good portion of land here. So that's why we called it Sky City, as you can see. And then we put this glass roof on here, basically, so whenever you die, you can spectate the whole map, which I love. So yeah, you also have the opportunity to revive players. That's another thing. So when you die, you come up here. Maybe you're stuck up here, and then your teammates have about 30 seconds to find out where you died, and click on a sign to actually revive you. A sign pops up whenever you die, and they got 30 seconds to help you get back in the game. I actually have an additional plugin that I fell in love with. It's very simple. It's called Lightning Upon Death. So when you die, lightning strikes right where you died. So if you're playing a big map with a lot of people, a lot of craziness going on, people may not have the opportunity to actually look in the chat section there. So if there's a lightning bolt where you die, people know that you died, they can run over, revive you really fast, and you don't have to spend too much time in the penalty box or the spectation area, as it were. So yeah, let's move along to the next section here. This has to do with doors. I'm not going to cover doors in this tutorial, so feel free to PM me if you need some additional help. Next, we also have, should a message be displayed when someone joins? Yeah, I would like that. So we're going to leave that default to true. And then you can also set up different custom commands for people that want to join or leave. By default, it's set, where you can just type, say, /join to join a game, or zombie survival -join to join a game. So I'm just going to leave those as defaults. If you want to, if you don't have any plugin conflictions and you just want to say put in J for join, you can do that. Same thing with L for leave. And then this is automation enabled. We're not covering that, so let's skip over this. An awesome feature in this plugin, which they really don't have in a lot of other plugins, is the ability for it to check for new versions and kind of notify you. I love that. So by default that's set to true. Gonna leave it as is. Trust in the creators. Okay, and then we have byte effects. That's what we mentioned before, where you have like the 10-second duration after your bit. You got the 1 in 20% chance to actually be bit. This just kind of allows you to toggle on and off what effects you can and cannot receive. So, say weakness, slowness, confusion, blindness. You're hunger poisoned. So I love they're able to actually have full control over all that stuff. And then let's go down here and you can see the item lists and stuff as they titled it. And of course they want you to really pay attention to having correct formatting. So they give you a pretty good example here. As the format, you basically have your item ID and then the damage value. Damage value I'll kind of go over a little bit in just a couple of minutes. But by default, if it's, say for example, a normal block, by default it's usually set to 0. Whereas if it's a sword, then it actually does have a damage value. So here they're providing an example. The item ID is 373, so let's go ahead and look that up. Right over on this page, and this page is, the link to this page is provided in the description, so no worries. This is our Minecraft item ID list. So as you can see, 373 is the precursor for any sort of potion. So they're defining one of these specific potions, and I believe it is the regen potion. 8193. Let's see. 8193, yes. Regen potion with 45 seconds. And, as they mentioned, regeneration potion. I'm intelligent. So moving right along. You can also define, as I mentioned before, that players actually receive items when they join, like the leather chestplate, the iron sword, the stone sword. So here you would just input the item IDs that you would find on this page here that I provided in the description below. So say for example you want them to have that potion, you would just copy this and paste it down right there, and then of course have a individual line for each item that you want. And same thing with, this is armor specific here. So again, same thing, follow the same format, very simple, easy to use. And then for this here, they have items that are dropped by monsters, or excuse me, zombies to be more specific. So let me see, I have a zombie wave sign thing here that I have actually neglected to fully update, but for the purposes of this example is perfect. Just for the simple fact that on this example that they provide here, they're showing that this potion has a 20% chance to drop whenever you kill a zombie. Just by the way that this is set up, you have your item, damage, and then chance. And as you can see, I kind of made a list of things that I wanted to be able to drop, and then I later decided to put these on signs. However, the format is still the same as it should be over here. So if you're not familiar, you have the the basic pound symbol or the number symbol, whatever you want to call it, which will actually allow you to put in comments like they have here. So what I've done is just went and put in a little comment for myself to know that this item ID here is corresponding with the regeneration potion. Then I also added a little bit of a extra help, that the duration is 2 minutes on this. So again, following the same item, damage, and then drop rate format. For this one, we're just going to put the item, and that is the full potion item ID. And then the damage is, there is no damage on this, so we're just going to leave that blank. And then the drop rate percentage. So as you can see, this is set in the decimal setup. So say for example this is 1, you'd have a 1 in 100% chance of actually dropping something, or a 1 in 1 chance. So I set this to 0.05 or 5% chance that you get a regeneration potion, simple regeneration potion whenever you kill a zombie. And you can kind of follow that down, changing different item IDs. So say for example, This one here is a 15% chance. As you can see, it's not a whole 100%, so go beyond that placeholder and 15%. Pretty simple. And then it also has a nifty little feature to block any sort of block breaking once you actually start the game. So you can't just have people busting through walls. I love that you're able to kind of do that world guard type feature on there. And then it also will, by default, block any sort of placing of items or blocks. I chose to actually add the item ID 69 or a lever, just because one of my server mates is kind of building a cool map that requires the use of a lever, but he kind of wants to make it a little bit more difficult for you. You have to go collect the lever and then place it in the correct position without dying to be able to get something that kind of helps you out. So for there, I just put the straight number 69, no quotes around it, anything, and you're good to go. It works right out of the box. Speaking of boxes, heading right down to mystery box. Honestly, I haven't configured this, but once we go over this whole portion right here, I think you'll have a pretty good understanding of how to go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap over to this plugin help text block, whatever you want to call it, that I made for you guys. This space considering, I mean, if I'm allowed to actually put this all in a video description, I will cram as much as possible into this video description. If not, I will find another place to host this info, and I will definitely link to it from the video, so no worries. So here I just wanted to kind of do a terms breakdown. This is just kind of simple logic. Anytime you see the precursor ZS, it's just referring to zombie survival. So in my head, I always think zombie survival. And if you look at a lot of the commands that are used later on, there's always a precursor of zombie survival hyphen something, or zombie survival, survival, A for add or R for remove. So just follow that basic logic and you really can't go wrong. And then for the name here, obviously you know what a name is, but I just kind of wanted to delve a little bit deeper into, say for example one of these commands here. So you have like a zombie survival add, and then you want to add like a spectating arena, and then you have to define a name. The name would be the map or the level in which you're on. And as you can see, I went and defined that out here. And for this tutorial purposes and the area that I'm working on, we have decided to call it Sky Map. Another thing I kind of wanted to touch on with that, when you're naming your maps, they are case sensitive. So keep in mind, if you have, say, uppercase S for the word sky and then uppercase M for the word map, that is one map. And then if you have it, say, all lowercase s in sky, lowercase m in map, that is considered a completely separate map. So keep those things in mind. The plugin reads those differently. When you're telling your players what game to join, please tell them whether or not it needs to be capitalized or lowercase. Let's see. The next one on here is wave. If you guys aren't too familiar with that term from playing wave-based games, a wave is basically just a level. When you kill a certain amount of zombies within that level, you go to the next level, and there are more zombies that are faster. Excuse me. Let's see, and then spawn, for the purposes of this, is basically where you start or where zombies start. Pretty simple. Case sensitive, I just cover that, so we're good to go. And then zombie, I'm sure you know what a zombie is, but what I'm referring to when it comes to the zombie here is for the signs. So let me pop back over to this really fast, and I will make us a sign. For the majority of signs that you do, you have to use the zombie precursor. So for this one, I'm just going to do like a sample item creation or like item store. So we have the precursor zombie. That has to be on its own line, just like that. And then you have a definition. This is whatever. That's an iron sword, right? Even though, you know what? It's actually a lever. So then, as you can see for the item creation, and I'll go over this in the next video, so no worries. I would put my item ID and then how much I want it to cost. So I want a lever to cost 200 points. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and create this sign, and as you can see, it changes the text color and gives you a notification to let you know that this sign is actually valid and can be used. So if I had 200 points and I right-clicked on it while I was in a game, then I would be able to actually purchase a lever. And as I was saying, the zombie is basically a precursor on its own line for the majority of signs, with the exception of zombie door or zombie stats like this. But zombie is pretty much used on every sign on the first line. And then damage value. This is something I had to look up. I had to turn to my handy-dandy friend Google to kind of figure out what exactly a damage value was. And upon looking it up, I kind of found out that a damage value, say for example you have a damage value of 1, that is equal to half a heart of damage. So by default, let's go over and take a look at our trusty iron sword. An iron sword has a damage value of 6, so that's 6 half hearts. If you add up, a half heart and a half heart, that's a full heart. So you basically just take any value that you have and divide by 2 to get the full heart value of how much damage that's actually going to do. So as you can see, iron sword does 3 full hearts or has a damage value of 6. So pretty simple whenever you're defining particular items and you want to, say, create a sign. Let's see, this is going to call zombie on the first line, iron sword. And if I misspell anything, don't worry about it. The second line actually doesn't matter. You can put in whatever you want as far as the name. So I'm just going to go ahead and look up iron sword real fast on my handy dandy item ID list here, which again I have provided in the description below. Okay, the item ID for this is 267. So I'm going to go ahead and I already have my name on the second line. I'm going to put 267 right here. And now they want the damage value of this. So I'm going to go ahead and put the default damage value of 6. And then they're also going to want the price of this. So I'm going to just say set the price for 150. And boom, as you can see, sign has been created. You have a standard iron sword with a standard damage value. If you ever want to beef them up, you can always put after the item ID a damage value of 20 as opposed to 6. And if I were you, kind of bump up the price a little bit, but that's, personal discretion. So, do whatever you feel like doing. So let's head back over to this plugin help file. I think I have pretty much covered all the basics as far as terms and stuff go. I have covered, damage value. Those additional links for item IDs and damage values will be in the description. And I will see you guys on the next video to go over a lot of the core commands and setting up our world. So this is Stadvert, and look forward to seeing you on the next video.